something to do.
5 o'clock.
All right, so we're gonna go ahead and call this meeting to order, a Brownfield Redevelopment Authority meeting. If we can go ahead and do roll call.
Emma Hall, Emma Kennard, Miguel Clark.
Here.
Mary Alice Adams. Present. Savannah Warren.
Here.
James Childs. Sam Hudson.
Here.
Ivy Chandler.
Here. Okay, next is we're gonna review our minutes from last month. If you have a packet here on pages 3 and 4.
Or
Okay, thank you. Got it? Perfect, so we're gonna, what do we have to do?
Yeah, I've got a motion by Adams, support by Clark. You want to do a roll call?
Yes, please.
Adams. Yes. Warren.
Yes.
Chandler.
Yes.
Clark.
yes.
Hudson.
Before I vote, I think my tenure on this council may be over. I was informed a couple weeks ago, 3 weeks ago. And so I don't know if I should be voting, okay, if that will preclude or create some type of,
Well, that may change whether we have a quorum.
and that's why I'm bringing this out.
If I may, thank you. I emailed the clerk and resubmitted my application that's up this month as well for reappointment. And it's up to the elected official, but we can stay and make decisions and vote until such time it goes before the board for reappointment.
Yeah.
But I guess you have to show interest in the form of an application, which you can't find online on the city's website.
I indicated that, I haven't heard anything, but so,
Well,
that's why I
You
bring
put the
that up.
application in, you're saying, Mr. Hudson?
Yeah, I indicated online that I would be
I
interested.
doubt if it's
But
against the law because
it's,
our chairperson, our chairwoman went months without.
Yeah, she did, so.
Well, in view of that fact, I'll vote, but
Yeah,
with that approved.
based on previous, I think
Okay.
you're fine.
Okay, approved.
So I think we should proceed. So we're voting on, well, Mr. Hudson, you will
Yes,
vote on the
I
minutes, are okay.
Mhm.
Motion carries 5-0.
Okay, next up, is our communications. First one is our Project T Brownfield Plan update.
Yeah, just, excuse me, an update on this. So this board approved recommending the Project T Brownfield Plan for approval. It went before the city commission. It was approved on July 15th. So the next step is preparing the development and reimbursement agreement. So that's being drafted. That's going to be between the city, the BRA, and the developer. We'll make sure all parties have a chance to review it. Legal counsel will review it before it comes before this board for formal approval. So no action needed at this time, just an update of where we're at.
Point 2, MEDC annual reporting.
So the MEDC requires that all brownfield redevelopment authorities report any tax increment that is collected on any active brownfield plans. That's due annually every year at August 31st. So I'm just keeping the board informed that Fishback is working on that and will be submitted prior to the due date.
All right, next up is our Great Lakes Drinking Water Conference.
So Member Adams had presented a few items, and I'll let you take it over in just a minute. One was Justice 40, which I know we've talked about a little bit. There's a flyer in here on displacement in brownfields, which is kind of some good general information on how brownfields can sometimes cause displacement. I will mention that any brownfield plan asks you to take that into consideration. If any people will be displaced, that has to be disclosed in the brownfield plan and how that would be rectified. Typically, if it's a, vacant, blighted, abandoned building, that doesn't apply, but sometimes it does. So that's just kind of some general information. And then it's always a great idea to let the board know when you're aware of conferences, and that's what Ms. Adams has done here. Eagle is putting on a drinking water conference. It's in Novi, September 25th through the 26th. Admission is $250. I did ask for clarification because there's a community residence fee that's quite a bit lower. But they said that any kind of government volunteer for a board such as this would be the general admission. So, so that would be the cost. You did approve the travel and reimbursement policy, so if anyone was interested, you could fill out that form and potentially attend. So, Member Adams, if you'd like to speak further on these items.
Well, just the Great Lake Drinking Water Conference. You know, sometimes these conferences have more than just the general topic of water within them. And sometimes when it comes to our waterways, just like we've been dealing with Ox Creek for many years of contamination, and we could never find the many millions that they said it was going to take to clean it up. So that being said, I learned a lot from different conferences that we've gone to around the United States, to where they talk more than just about brownfields. They're full of a lot of other information. And I just want to share it for anybody that might be interested in further educating themselves on how the conferences work, since it was local. I'm not interested myself. And as for that brownfield flyer, that was basically geared towards the Justice 40 initiative as well, with disenfranchised and underserved communities that have been displaced or threatened to be displaced in the form of any type of development, because the funds are for underserved communities. And that was something from EDA, some others that I've been working with closely. And that's pretty much it. Just want to share that information.
So I will say with this, you know, coming up at the end of September, if anyone is interested, you would need to fill out that form so that we can have that on the agenda for our meeting in the beginning of September. So if you just email me, I can get you a copy of that.
No further comments, we'll go ahead and move on to our public comment section. Just 2 members of the public, so, okay, we're gonna move on. Committee reports. There's none, unless Mr. Lewis, you have anything? No? Okay, so let's go ahead and move on to the treasurer's report, page 8, starts at page 8.
So we have the financial reports as of July 31st, 2024, as prepared by Plant Moran. You have the balance in your checking account of $415,805.29. You have the money market account, that's your LBRF, a balance of $511,075.46. Winter tax capture was $22,523.97. Your total assets are $949,424.72. I did want to point out that this 3185 under accounts payable, it's not listed under the expenses. This is Fishbeck's invoice for July. If you'll recall, it was put in the June spreadsheet as an estimate because we were closing out the year. It did come through as the same exact amount. So we have your total liabilities and equity at $949,424.72. On the next page, we have interest income of $648.97. We do have our, so the 3185 I already pointed out in the other column was Fishbeck's invoice, which you'll see that was for June. We're generally in August invoice for July services. It's listed here at $450, but the actual invoice came in at $550. I have since received contract for next year that does include an increase where it would be $550 each month. There is a discrepancy here, so the board will have to decide if they're comfortable approving that, or if we want to ask for a revision there, and we can wait on that, Chuck.
So,
And what
I
is,
would like a revision for the 450 because we did not agree to the 550. And I guess I'll let the members go ahead and do your next, Ms. Chandler.
Just a question, when does the contract up?
I'd have to double check, but it's right about now.
Okay.
If they're billing us, it indicates to me it has expired and
mhm,
these are new terms.
right.
Not answering for her, but just saying.
And the general or commissioner, do you guys have any other comments?
I do have one other question. It's not on this actually, but is that the normal procedure that every brownfield plan is first reviewed by our legal counsel?
Your reimbursement agreement, I believe it's policy, any official contracts are reviewed by legal counsel. Mr. Little, I don't know if that's something you could speak on.
Yes, it is. Yes, they do. The commission does require that we have legal counsel review all official.
Before they come to brownfield?
That's my
Yeah.
I'm specifically brownfield.
Any of the orders, any of them.
Okay.
Has that been happening?
Yes.
That was my understanding, yeah. So I know sometimes we take these together, sometimes we approve them separately. I mean, are you comfortable approving this? It's got the 450 in there, which is what you normally agreed on.
Yes,
The
I'm
check is
comfortable
separate.
improving the 450, but I'm not comfortable improving the 550 because we didn't agree to that. So I don't know if that makes sense unless you're, what is the checks? So the check has been written out to 550?
Yeah,
So yeah, I can't agree to that because we never said we were agreeing to that.
And
so do we want to take action just on the financial report at this point, and then we'll get to the payables listing?
Yes, per my understanding, the financial reports are correct. They have 450 listed, so we can definitely take action on that. And I'm okay, and I'll get the boards to chime in, but I'm okay with the June advisory services as well. I'm just not okay with the incorrect invoice of 550.
I would like to add,
Commissioner Atkins?
if I may, thank you, Chair. If in fact we could revisit, it's been some years because we never could understand why we were paying to be an arm of the city and working autonomously. That we tried to put out an RFP with the hopes that we could help a household man or woman that would like to apply to do this small portion of the payables, rather than Plant Moran, because it seemed like there was a conflict of interest. And that never happened, but if we could think about revisiting that, putting out an RFP and allowing somebody in the community that's been looking for a small job, that has the credentials and the experience in doing so.
Point of order. I think we're discussing basically whether to pay this 550 or not. I don't think that, even though the procedure is a little bit incorrect, we know they earned the 450, right?
Correct.
So maybe we could make some adjustment here. It's not a lot of money, but still, I mean, it's their money they've earned. If we could agree to pay them the 450, that would, and then let them know. I don't have a problem with your procedure. I think it's good to do the due diligence and approve this increase.
Yeah, and I think that what I'm saying is if you look at the financial papers, they have 450 in here, and I think that should be approved. So in theory, you're right, it's the 450 is what we're saying is correct.
Right,
So
but we have a check.
so the check is the problem, the check is written incorrectly.
So you cancel it and write another one.
Right, so that's what we have to instruct them.
And I'm just throwing that out
Well,
because
yeah, yeah.
I don't think it's really fair to
Yeah.
uphold all, even though we need to speak to your important issue.
So, Teresa, are you clear on,
Well, so right now I'm looking for a motion just on approving the financial reports, and then we'll get to the payables listing next.
Do I need to put that in here?
just
With
the,
the exception
just
of,
the financials?
okay, motion to approve.
A second.
We'll take a roll call.
Questions? I'm assuming that this is including the 3185.
Not yet, this is only for the financial report.
Well, it's
Well,
included
this is a
in there.
financial
It's not
report.
It's not improving the checks yet. That'll come next. We'll do that as a separate motion.
But I'm saying we're approving the payment of the 550, which we talked about to be 450, and 3185.
We'll do that next.
Oh, well, what are we approving?
We're just
The balance sheet?
Yes.
Oh, okay, all right. Even though it is included, I mean, the balance sheet includes this 3185 over which
That,
I have
it
some
was
questions.
included last month
But we're voting on it today,
for the payment next.
so that's why I'm speaking to it today. Okay, so if it's included in the financials, then I think we should discuss that first and have a round turn.
Well, she was just doing it separate, and we're at the motion. It's
She's
just-
not doing it separately, she's doing it combined. Balance sheet and P and,
No, we're doing it as two separate
Yeah,
motions.
so
This
two
was
different
just for
motions.
the balance sheet.
but the balance sheet includes an amount that is off of this subsidiary schedule. So approving the balance sheet says you're approving this.
So right now, we have a motion on the table just for the financial report. We can choose to strike it and talk about both, or we can vote on this and then get to
Let's
payables.
just make our lives easier. Let's just vote on it, then talk about payables. Because we've already had the motion, we already had the second. It takes a second. So if you could do the roll call, please, and then we'll jump right into the payables. And Mr. Hudson, you're gonna be up first.
Member
What?
Adams.
Okay.
Only on the financial.
Is that with the exception of the changes of
We
the,
only vote on this paper.
Okay,
which is
yes.
correct.
yes,
Warren,
Yes.
Chandler,
Yes.
Clark,
Yes.
Hudson.
No,
Motion carries 4-1.
Okay.
So now the payables listing. This is the two checks that we have printed out before us. It's the 550, which we have discussed, different than the amount that's listed in the financial statement for July services. There is a contract that they have prepared. It wasn't ready at the time of the packet. That'll be next month. The board should formally discuss, but it sounds like you might be comfortable if they reissue a check for the 450. It's one point you should discuss. The second is Fishbeck's invoices. This is for our June advisory services. Our invoices are typically a month behind. So we had a strong estimate. It's the exact same dollar amount. Plant Moran said they needed an estimate because it was being for their financials. So this number was presented to the board last month. Now here's the official invoice with a check for consideration.
okay, now, is this one a motion with the exception of the with the,
We're asking for them
to reissue the check in the amount of, or make a motion to approve with the exception of the reissuance of the check to Plant Moran for 450 as opposed to 550.
And I'll support.
We have a motion by Adams, support by Warren, to accept the payables listing amended as reissuing the Plant Moran check for 450 instead of 550.
Discussion?
I think, pay them what we know they're due, but as you said, it's not in our contract for 550. Let's get the 100 cleared up. And they should be made aware too, I'm sure, when you send them their check. Or they can call our president or Miss Santana. They can let them know why they're $100 in there. I know it's not gonna be a big deal, but that's usually just appropriate to.
Well, yeah, they
Yeah, I know.
won't get this check, so they'll have to issue a new check. So I will email them so they let them know and request that new check.
Sorry, Commissioner Adams.
Send them their $440.
Okay, Commissioner Adams.
Thank you, Madam Chair. When will, okay, they're not finished with their contract yet.
I would have to I don't know that information
Okay,
off
but
the
we'll
top of my
find
head
it.
exactly when their contract
Okay.
expires. I know it's very
Okay.
close to right about now.
Okay, because to have it prior to our meeting would be wonderful. Thank you.
I have a question.
Chandler.
If, for example, their contract ended 7/31, or let's say 6/30 even,
It had to.
would we have to back up and pay that additional $100 if we signed the contract?
No, we didn't agree to it.
Right.
I think the current contract lists $450.
How you gonna charge me?
The current one does, right, because that's what they're charging. But if the contract ended June 30th,
Oh, I see what you're saying.
and the new contract, although they're just getting it to you, was written for 7 moving forward, July moving forward, would we then have to,
No,
if we sign that contract,
no,
have to pay them
You
that?
would have to agree to backdate it. I
Right.
mean, if you're signing the contract, now it would be essentially in September, right? Because this is our August meeting. So we'd be signing the contract in September. We would have to agree to back pay them. That would be something we would discuss.
no.
I mean, I wouldn't particularly want to do that, but I mean, it would be the board's.
Right.
I think it's the only thing you can do.
Discussion.
The lack of communication.
Yeah, you don't have any other alternatives.
So that's how that would be handled. So we can call for the question. Is there any more discussion?
On
This particular payables.
the 3185, yes.
So,
I'd like to go to the supporting schedule.
Yep.
Which,
page 14.
where it says page 1 on the bottom, but it is the actual log of the billing rates. And I see that we are basically out of money in that account, it seems, at this point,
Well,
for
dedicated to them.
Oh, okay.
for our facilitator Fishback contract. So in an effort to control what is going forward, I have questions on a number of these logged amounts. Starting with David Stengink, Logan Mulholland, and Shelby Sekowitz or Sinkowitz. I see billable hours here for them. I'm wondering how we get control over these expenditures, because there seems to be no board control over what is being billed and logged to us. Who's authorizing these individuals and these billings, because they seem to be outside of what we had projected and what we're working with. So I'd like to have an explanation, because that 15% almost of the 3185, and then the 78% actually, which is getting billed by Teresa. I have a couple of questions there also on the logged hours. I noticed a number of meetings with Mr. Little. They're all concerning Project T. Why are we paying Project T's development costs? Is that normal?
It's not their development.
Excuse me. We're paying it. It is to advance their project and their development. I thought that was the reason that we had a $500 fee with their application, to defray those ancillary charges associated with processing it. If not, then I'd like clarification as to how this procedure is going and what that $500 amount is. Yes,
If I may respond, there was a
Please.
lot there, so let me try to get to all of the items. I'll start with Project T. The $500 application doesn't go very far. That's enough of, let's see, does this application warrant consideration by the board to consider approval for support? We've been there, done that. Now this plan is approved. This board has admin and operating expenses approved in that plan that will reimburse you for these costs. These are not development team support costs. They're costs that are needed to understand the Brownfield's role in implementing the plan. So any of these meetings that are charged or development of documents that are charged to this board are only as it relates to implementation of the Brownfield plan. That's part of your role and responsibility. Several of these other meetings of my time had nothing to do with Project T. We had our housing evaluation policy. The board directed me to meet with Mr. Little on that, which I did. Several of these are, preparing meeting materials. Shelby Sinkowitz is our technical editor, so every month when I prepare meeting materials, she assists me with that. David Stedjink is my immediate supervisor, so he had a quarter of an hour. I must have asked him a question about the policy document that we were working on. Ms. King, I was directed by this board to work with the assessor and Ms. King on her project, so I'm moving forward with that. So all of these activities are either directly from the board instructing me to do them specifically or general administrative and operating expenses of running the board.
So, since I've been on the Brownfield, it's been a few years, we have never micromanaged this piece. We never had anyone ask us for permission, to talk to someone, to have a meeting. So the problem is you have to have a procedure. So if this has been how we've always worked, we can't just magically wake up and say, oh, today in August, it shouldn't be like that. Now, if go forward, someone feels like, well, I kind of don't believe this. And I want to have a procedure in place where if we go over this amount of time, you check with the board, that's something different. But what we're talking about is what I've seen is every time we've had billing. So I want to make sure we're clear on that. This is not significantly different than what we always, come across. I just want to make sure we're clear on that. And I think, Ms. Chandler, you had a comment.
Yes, I heard you say that there were some costs here that was reimbursable or something.
You will get administrative expenses as part of the Project T Brownfield plan, because there's a little bit of implementing that plan. Things like reviewing the development and reimbursement.
Are reimbursable to the Brownfield?
Correct.
Okay.
Sorry, Mr. Hudson.
now, you are aware that we had a budget for this year.
Yes,
Are you aware of the current condition of that budget? It's listed there.
Yes.
It's shot. How do we operate for the next 5 months?
Well, oh, sorry, Therese.
If I may, my understanding was that was somewhat an arbitrary budget. I'm more than happy to bring our contract, review that, or let the board know if it stated a specific dollar amount a year. I know in speaking with Mark, he felt like our expenses based on the type of activity were generally in line with what he would expect for what was needed.
So his
I could
budget,
double check if we had a specific dollar amount for the year and when that would end.
well, it was listed as 15,000 in the proposed.
The way our accounting software works, we have to put a number in there.
Well, but we have a number. There was a number. And my whole thing is, no, we had a number. Right now, anytime I see an item underfunded or what have you, it draws my attention. Okay? And it's our job, number one, to manage that. So I like to know, first of all, how we got there. Because right now, how you gonna get paid next month?
Okay.
There's only $1,000 there.
It's my understanding that that is, like, that budget was a estimated placeholder.
Okay, and then I noticed that we increased to 50,000, which gives us some, some operating space on the proposed.
Oh, yeah, on the next item.
There is a proposed budget here
Is that for us?
for 2024 to 2025.
Yeah, we may wish to wait and address that next.
Well, I know, but we're speaking with issues that are reflective from here. So I'm saying 15 to 50, okay? If you ain't doing right with the 15, to go into 50 is not gonna make you any more effective or efficient.
So last year it was a combination of Mr. Florian's time and Fishbeck's.
Right.
I think it was 40,000, so the 15 is well below that. That's why I'm saying this was just kind of an arbitrary number. I think where we came in.
And we can go ahead, because time is a clicking, but, those are my concerns when I look at these financials here. And however this board wants to deal with it, I'm fine with it. But I think that we should have some due diligence and some control as to how things are brought here and we're actually paid. With that, let's move
I
on.
actually
Let's move on.
lowered the budget for consulting fees for next year, because there won't be down to 40,000. It was 50.
Mhm.
We came in at year end at 36,990.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So it was lower. It was lower than.
And I don't have a problem with that, because my thing is, how did we miss it like that? There was something that was not correct when I saw the 15 and then the actual, and I'm like, we're only 7 months in the year. So, but let's move on. I think this board has already said, we're gonna get you paid if they have to do supplemental, approvals or what have you. So,
I can talk to my accountant if there's a different way to represent that 15,000.
nah, don't talk to him, because then you'll be billing us and he'll be billing us.
But it just sounds like the 15 arbitrary was confusing because it's not actually accurate. So, I'm sorry, Commissioner Adams.
I'll just say this, that it probably looks unusual because we haven't really had anything in a while as it relates to development or anybody coming forward, for our consultant to have to spend that type of time on a subject matter, so.
Which is the reason that we know we're gonna be getting a little bit more active. We need to be proactive.
But I think if the budget, the projected budget of the 50K, I think that's reasonable.
No, that's the old.
See, okay.
Oh, it's 40.
Okay, it's okay, it's okay. Let's move on. I
So
don't
we
wanna-
do have
We plan on having more development.
a motion on the table by Adam, supported by Warren, to approve the payables listing as amended by reissuing the check from Plant Miranda 450. I believe this has been further discussion, so we don't have a roll call vote on that.
So you can call roll?
Adams,
Yes.
Warren,
Yes.
Chandler,
Yes.
Clark,
Yes.
Hudson.
With those reservations, I still think we're out of control here.
Is that a yes or no?
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
Okay, so now let's jump into our proposed budget, page 16.
So in page 16 on your packet, it's also up there, although it might be a little hard to read up there. So the column with the blue header on the left is your budget that was approved for the 2023-2024 year. That middle column in green is where we actually came in. And the yellow column is what is proposed for next year. Some of these items, it's a little hard to estimate and you have to kind of make a reasonable guess. Budgets can always be amended, but obviously we want to make reasonable decisions. So let me talk through a couple of items here. The tax increment capture, that would be from all your brownfield plans that you have in place. Those taxes are collected summer and winter. They do eventually go out to developers, but they're captured first. So the budget had 220,000. We actually captured 324, 259. That actual number will be based on whatever the actual taxable values are for next year, minus the initial taxable value when those plans were in place. So it will fluctuate. Excuse me. I put in a conservative estimate. Likely it'll be the same or slightly higher, but I went just lower to be conservative as it's income coming in. The same with the income expense. Last year we earned 7,660. Just trying to be a little conservative, put that at 7,000. Application fees, that can vary from year to year, how much activity you have. We did have 2 last year at 1,000. There wasn't anything in the budget. I put 500, so this is total revenues coming in conservatively at 327,500. The board does not currently have an EPA assessment grant, so there's no budget there. For consultant and advisory support, last year when this budget was put together, Mr. Florian had suggested a little bit of an increase there to 50,000, knowing there would be 2 firms for part of the year. We actually came in under budget at 36,999. I have proposed a budget as 40,000. Financial auditing, I did put this higher number in here as a budget based on knowing that policy was going to be coming forward for Plant Moran. If you approve this budget and decide not to approve that, it won't hurt anything. This would be the highest you would pay for those services. And then legal support is just an estimate at 2,500. We did not have any costs last year, but that's the same amount that was budgeted. So that has expenses at 49,100. The tax increment reimbursement, this is one number that is really difficult to estimate because, you know, those taxes are going to come in on those brownfield plans, but it depends on when the developers are ready and they get all the invoices and this board is approving a reimbursement agreement. So there's significantly more than this left to reimburse on all of the plans, but we don't know how much will be coming forward this year. So there was a budget last year of 65,000, but we actually reimbursed 232. So again, I wanted to be conservative. I bumped that number up. If I just want to make sure this board is aware and comfortable, if a developer comes forward to you, even if they are approvable costs in a brownfield plan, if you don't have those funds, there hasn't been significant TIF generated yet, they don't get reimbursed yet. So there's not a concern with bumping this up in our estimate. Then the next items, we didn't incur any costs last year, but there was budget for them. I wanted to talk about them a little bit. Seminars and travel, seminar meals, I kind of think that could be combined into one line item, but it was separated. I kept those the same. I was thinking of the National Brownfields Conference that will be occurring next August is in Chicago. That's pretty close. That's likely something that one or more board members would want to go. I know speaking in Chair Hall, she thinks it would be great if several board members went. Depending on when you sign up for that, it could potentially be in the next year's budget, but generally you sign up early, so there is some budget put in here. Also other conferences and things. I know the board just approved a policy, so I wanted to make sure we had budget for that. This board has historically done a lot of advertising and marketing that has caused you expenses outside of your consultant fees, the same with printing and publication. Right now, some of that is wrapped up in, you know, if I were to do an educational event, that's going to fall under your consulting fees. If I need to print materials, that's going to go in your consulting fees. So we may or may not need separate line items, but they're in here as a budget. Bank fees, miscellaneous supplies, we didn't have those last year, but let's keep them in there, they were budgeted. So this has a total expenses of $314,950 with a net income of $12,550. Any questions on the proposed budget for 2024-2025?
So I'm okay with this proposed budget, and I'll let everyone else speak in 1 second. But what I would like to do, if we do approve this, is I would like to revisit it in 6 months. I would want it on the agenda to revisit it, because I agree, a lot of this is your forecasting. You know, we have a lot of people coming in with brownfield plans, of course, advisory is gonna go up. So that would be my proposal, to approve it, but to review it in 6 months. And then, does anyone have comments on the board?
I think it's great. I'll motion to approve. It's just a budget.
Oh, sorry, Mr. Lowe.
Just a question. I asked that when we show on our balance sheet the amounts that we have invested, that we also show what the interest rate is that we're receiving.
For that interest income,
Yes.
yes, I can look into that.
If you got the balance in the amount, the rate's there. Division. But there's nothing wrong with looking at it.
It'd be
Hmm?
nice to know.
Oh, yeah, it's called it back.
My reason for asking is, you know, I sat on several boards and we're doing some different things on some of the others in terms of investing. There's a municipal investment instrument called, referred to as Michigan Class, that's been paying a higher interest rate than most of the local banks and so forth. And we may benefit from some of that when we have amounts that we're leaving for some time.
Is it a custodial account? Who's custodian?
Approved by the Department of Treasury.
The state of Michigan is the custodian. I think we should go for it. We're not getting nothing. Come on.
Okay,
So that would be something I think we should discuss.
I'll support.
Are we ready for a roll call?
I think so.
What's the motion?
So motion is to approve the proposed 2024-2025 budget with follow-up in 6 months to revisit this budget and have it placed on the agenda, and also direction to staff to inform the board on what the current interest rate is.
Roll call, please.
Member Adams?
Yes.
Warren?
Yes.
Chandler?
Yes.
Clark?
Yes.
Hudson?
Approved.
Motion carries 5-0.
Next up on our agenda is old business.
Additional point on this. Can we have on our agenda for next month the approval of his institutional account with the state as custodian?
Mhm.
Because the interest rate we're getting at Honor is virtually zero. So I think that if they have a custodial account with the state that he's speaking of, that's probably where we should be keeping our other monies.
Let's do that
I'll
under,
bring you the information.
okay.
Yeah, so let's just, that way it doesn't get lost. We'll visit it next month.
Did you catch that, Sharice? I don't know if you caught what they're asking to put, he's asking to put something on the agenda.
The municipal account,
The city's account separate from the Brownfield Authority?
it's separate, but that's where we would rather keep our little pennies if it has a better interest rate.
So what would you like formally on
To
the agenda?
open.
Just to have a discussion next
open one of
month.
those accounts.
So we
Let
would
me
have to
ask you,
discuss
let
it.
me bring you the information.
There you go.
A discussion first.
That's
and
right.
then we can go from there. And I'm gonna move on because we, some of us, it's gonna be on the agenda for next week.
Yes.
Some people have to leave and we need to have 5
Mhm.
people. So we're gonna move on to old business, expenditure policy and policies in the form.
So there's no action needed. The board voted on this. I'm just showing you the final approved copy. What was amended last month was adding the per diem rates will be paid based on the current federal rate, and meal receipts will not be needed, as there will not be a reimbursement of meals, simply a daily per diem rate. Then the King's Court, there's not an attachment for that. This is essentially an update, but it's under old business because the board's already taken action on this. So this board chose to support this housing development project. Haven't officially decided what that support looks like. Most likely that would be a brownfield plan, but we don't have historical reference for what this type of development would create as far as tax increment, and if that would work in a brownfield plan. So the board directed me to work with the assessor. I've met with the assessor. She has driven by all the properties. There was a list of, I provided her all the information that I received to date from Ms. King, schedules, costs, renderings, timelines. There's still some additional information that would help the assessor make an informed decision. So just recently, we have requested additional information from Ms. King. Once we receive that, the assessor has told me she should be able to turn around those estimates fairly quickly, and then my firm will put those calculations in place. So the hope is in September, we can present to you what a brownfield plan would look like for this project.
All right, next up is our new business. Oh, authority meeting date and time?
Well, it was requested to have this on the agenda. It's come up a couple times during board member comments. It may be more efficient to, if following discussion here, if there's some certain things we're wondering about, I could send a poll out so this doesn't become a lengthy discussion. I know that some board members have to leave, but there has been a request to consider whether we do this meeting at a different date or time. Some considerations that go along with that would be checking in with the city for room availability. You know, the clerk usually starts meeting, things like that. But the board is free to discuss.
I feel like we've talked about this several times, and the problem with the old date and time was you were not available, Therese.
That's correct.
So is there a new proposal or Ms. Adams?
No, it's the same proposal, go back to where
Well, we
we
can't.
once were.
Because remember, Therese is not
Well, she
available.
said that she could have somebody else from their firm, their whole firm.
I understand that, but then the price is different, and then she kind of has the history. Mm-hmm.
We have a negotiated
Oh,
price for
Just the
anyone.
average, okay.
We have previously discussed it, you're correct, Member Warren,
Okay,
and it was decided that
okay.
I built a relationship with this board,
Okay.
but
I mean, I'm just gonna say this, we were thoughtful enough to allow Mark during the season that he really wanted to get involved in his, one of his children's, sports. Because it was convenient for everybody that was on the board, the majority anyway. And Ms. Cole had made mention herself, and I really hate to see not here to speak to her because it worked best for her as well. In the beginning of the month, there's a lot going on, and developments and things are pretty much set and situated. And I can only speak to me, but others will or should find out for themselves that when things come through Plain Economic Development Committee meeting, it just played right in correspondence with one another for the brownfield to happen the next day. Because some developments that may be coming through Plain Economic Development comes through here. So it just made sense. And it has for years, and some things just didn't change.
So when was the old meeting?
On the 4th of every month,
The fourth Thursday?
4 o'clock.
We're proposing they go back to that, fourth Thursday.
Mm-hmm. And I think it had a lot to do with winding up some things and having prepared just in case something needed to go before the next council meeting as well. It just worked like a well-oiled machine, if you ask me. But what do I know, other than just experience? A little.
Any other comments regarding the meeting date, time change?
I got a question. So this, for instance, if we go back to the fourth Thursday, who at your firm will take your place?
I don't know. I know when we negotiated the contract, this was the established meeting date and time. So if that's the board's decision, I'll do my best to find someone that would cover that. I would hope we can make that work. But I would have to check and see. I know that wasn't the conditions when we signed our contract.
Because you got somebody else, another Brownfield that you doing.
At the exact same time, yes.
My thoughts kind of remain as what I said, because Teresa's learned the process and gotten used to us and know our project. I know you would brief someone else, but I do like her being here, but I guess if everyone agrees that we should change it, I guess you brief your new colleague.
I mean, me personally, I'm just at a loss with, especially this Justice for the initiative. And during the interview, I was hoping that we could get Ms. Teresa to come in and do some training within our community, but I don't see that happening either. Because we have busy schedules, period.
I've done several educational events during these meetings. You could request me to do something else. Right now, I'm doing what I'm authorized to do. There's been a lot of oversight on how I spend my time, so the board just direct what your needs are, and we'll make it work.
Nothing to do but make a vote, put forth and let everybody speak their.
Is there a motion?
We don't have a motion at this point in time.
Okay, then we should move on.
Do you wanna wait till maybe?
I would like to wait on.
Would be best if,
Members are here.
and also.
Well,
she doesn't
no, as long as we
know-
have a quorum, we operate on a quorum.
What I was saying, I'm sorry, she was into the mic, but the other issue is we have to make sure that someone could come. We don't want to change the date, and then what if Teresa's firm, what if everybody happens to be busy? That would be a huge problem. So I think it would be better, could you put some feelers out there or see, and then next, month we can come back to this.
And the other part is checking with the city on logistics. I know that worked before, so that should be fine, but it sounds like, and I would want this formally moved by one of the members, that you're looking to direct me to look into my firm if we did choose to move it, and also checking with the city if that would work.
We don't have any motion on the floor, so
There
that's
isn't.
moot. If it comes up next meeting, we talk about it and move from there, but I don't see any motion. Let's move on.
All right, oh, sorry,
Well, I think we should just go ahead and keep with Teresa. She been doing this, what you been with us about 6 months, 6+.
This is the 8th month.
Yeah, so, I mean, it been working. We've been doing this second Tuesday for over a year now. So, I mean, no, keep it the same.
Okay, move on, next item.
Every Thursday I got something to do, but, yeah.
Yeah, next item.
all right, so we're gonna, go on and move on to member comments. And, you want to start, Commissioner?
Of course I will. And I want to thank everybody that was able to show up today. We got a little something done, which is always good. I've been sharing out some information and I won't talk too much about it, even as far as the bank. I've been talking with Black and Green and I'm hoping that you all pay very close attention to information that I send you via email because it has everything to do with the growth of our community. And we pretty much need all hands on deck. And it has a lot to do with a whole lot of money. A lot of money to get a lot of things done within our community. And it consists of training our youth to take charge of their own future. A lot of grant dollars for a lot of different things. I hate that we've had several meetings and money has been moving across the country, but nothing is coming through here for getting anything done, but I'm just going to continue to do what I do in the capacity in which I do so and work with the Brownfield to ensure that whatever Brownfield wants to do, that we can get something done. Thank you.
That's it, Mr. Little. Did you have anything, Mr. Little?
I'd just like to say that I'm just pleased and thrilled with the way things are progressing. I kind of agree that I think there's much to be gained to maintain and grow the relationship you have with the person that's working with you now from Fishback. It's come a long way. You've gotten used to working with each other. I'm used to working with her. I think it's a growing relationship that will produce a lot of results. And in terms of other things that are going on, and I understand Mary Alice's concern, but there's a lot more coming into the city and going on than what you're aware of. We are capitalizing on everything and that comes our way that we can make use of. As a matter of fact, we've been working on a community change grant for $20 million that we expect to be submitting within the next week or so. And you've got in excess of almost 8 million on Ox Creek already, with more coming. You've got, I believe, close to 20-something million that is going into the streets and utilities that you're noticing out around May Street and all of those up and down there. There's a great deal getting done in here in the city. Whole Park is getting moving now. Bobo Brazil Armory getting moving. Several other projects that are corner Wall Streets moving in a high gear. There's a lot going on in the city.
Ms. Chan. Okay. Miguel? Okay. Mr. Thomas? Therese, do you have any comments? Okay. And I don't really have many comments, but I think everyone's been doing a great job, and I'm excited to see the continued progress in our city. And so next up, I would make a motion to adjourn.
Second,
Support.
bye.
Okay, I think I had second from Hudson first. And the motion from Warren,
Yes.
correct? I don't think we need roll call. Let's take it just. Adam? Warren?
Yes.
Warren?
Yes.
Chandler?
Yes.
Clark?
Yes.
Hudson?
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0. Adjourned at 5:06.
All right, safe travels, Teresa.
Thank you. So I do have one second to approve that needs two signatures. Other cities.
They're not here,
Okay,
but I will sign,
okay,
And
and
then
then I'll arrange to
Yeah.
buy it.
Yeah.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Thank you.